Well, Sanjay, it feels like this discussion has been 2 years in the making. I was looking back, and it's almost 2 years that I originally placed Astera Labs on one of the top 13 companies to bet on in the AI machine learning space. And sure, I'm glad that I did, because somehow you proved me right. So well done. But I could go through a long introduction of all of your accomplishments, 2.5 decades of just home runs within the interconnect space. But the biographical information, largely, people can find out on their own. And one of the reasons that Astera was placed on that list is you, Jitendra, and Casey. I don't bet on companies, I bet on people. And your history in this industry speaks for itself. So I also wanted to give our audience an inside look into the person. And so where I typically like to start is, you're an engineer at heart. Was there a defining moment in your life where you said, I'm going to become an engineer, where you knew that that's what you're going to do?
Well, first of all, thank you for covering us over the years. We really appreciate the kind words that you use to describe the company as well as us. And it's great to meet you in person. And talking about the question you asked about when did I realize I wanted to be an engineer, to be honest with you, I became an engineer by accident. So obviously we grew up in a setup where my dad was an engineer, and there's several different things that we did that fell in that space. But I really wanted to become a doctor. Unfortunately, what happened is I didn't score good enough marks in my 12th that I ended up going towards engineering, which has worked out fantastic, so I'm not regretting it. But to be honest, that was the context there. But what I've also done as part of my engineering life, which was my 4 years at college, and then also about 8 years where I was working, is to make sure that I worked on projects that not only solved a problem, but also made a ton of money. And that was an important consideration for being in an industry where you're making an impact, but making an impact in a way that's measurable through financial success. So that's the other part of me that obviously we can talk through as we go through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as a carry on to that, was there a moment that you and Casey and Jitendra looked at each other and it went beyond we should do this or we could do this to we're going to do this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, I think the fact that we wanted to create a company or create something that's impactful for the industry was something that obviously has been in our minds for a very long time, even before we started Astera. Jitendra and I started our career in National Semiconductors before it got acquired by TI. And then Casey joined us after we were acquired from TI. So he was part of the native TI working on ASICs back in Dallas. When Jitendra and I came together, it goes back to what I said. I was an engineer, did a lot of software. He was the analog guru in National, and pretty much I gravitated towards him simply because every time there was a patent award, he would win that. And it was also not just about like the patent of the year, but it was patents that actually had a huge impact in terms of business success. So I always admired and appreciated him. And there was a time in my career where I worked on products that didn't make money. And I complained to my GM, who at that point, pretty much on a dare said, if you think the marketers don't know what they're doing, you should probably move into marketing. So that's how I got into marketing. Moved my family from Colorado to the Bay Area, which is where National was headquartered. And together we created businesses from the ground up, first for automotive, then for cloud, that went on to become tremendous success for the company, generating hundreds of millions of dollars. But in that process, we learned few things about ourselves. One is that we love to solve customer problems and do so in a way that is innovative and also making a lot of business success, but have fun doing that. And I think we have gravitated towards situations where and someone says no, that's really when we thought our job started. And when someone didn't want to do something, but we saw a certain inkling of success around it, that we would go about doing that. So to that standpoint, I think when three of us came together, we found that synergy or complementary capabilities, where Jitendra came from an engineering chip design background, Casey came from customer support systems background, and I came from the business background. And together we found that we could, visualize what the market needed, put together business plans, put together execution plans to truly deliver results or products that customers needed, and truly have fun doing that.
Okay, well, fun seems to be a common theme. Now, what had you three land on doing interconnectivity products specifically for AI?
Yeah, so there's a story behind that, if I can indulge a little bit.
Please.
So having created, a couple of businesses that were highly successful within National and then TI, we saw this change happening in the industry, that at that point we called it heterogeneous compute, where server motherboards were transitioning from having just a single CPU-based compute to having different kinds of processors. You had CPUs, you had smart NICs starting to show up with processors on them, and then of course you have GPUs and other accelerators. And when we saw that, we went to our management back in TI and said, look, there is this change happening. We believe that we need to start doing something about it. The fact be told, TI taught us a lot. It was a fantastic company in terms of growth, but they were very clear on their business model, which was to focus on the mass market. Industrial, automotive was big. Data center tends to be a vertical market that also requires external foundries, small nanometer digital foundries, which TI was not their area of focus. So it became very clear that this was not a good fit for the business model that TI was aspiring. So it was one of those moments where we looked at each other and say, we see this train coming. It's going to be a significant opportunity, because connectivity fundamentally is going to be different than what it was done in the last 20, 25 years, to one in which you have to reinvent the nervous system that involves multiple processors talking to each other, each one of them capable of producing and consuming a lot of data. So the fundamental KPIs, the money specs for connectivity products is going to be very different than the last 20, 25 years, where you just had one processor and everything else was an I/O device surrounding the processor. So, we looked at each other and said, either we're going to let it go and just go do other things that TI focused on, or essentially take a chance. Again, it was one of those moments where we decided we'll back ourselves and go do it, and never really looked back after that.
That's awesome. So one of the reasons why Astera was on that original list of 13 companies is there are so many companies, I think 227 companies right now, trying to do a differentiated accelerator.
Yeah.
What's different about you is that you're an enabling technology.
Yes.
And so you're an ecosystem builder, which, since we've interacted, you know that democratization of AI and responsible AI is important to me. Yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about how Astera is enabling AI and machine learning technologies?
Yeah, absolutely. Even when we started Astera, it's funny, when we would go to investors, they would always ask us, why do you want to do connectivity products? Why don't you do one more accelerator? Our answer was very simple. At that point, I think there were 42 companies in the Bay Area doing accelerators, and we were out of this 42, maybe 2 or 3 will succeed. But the 2 or 3 that succeed will need connectivity that's very different than what's available in the market so far. Therefore, we believe this is the space to be. We are trying to support the gold rush, but we are approaching that market by providing the shovels and pickaxes that are needed, and that will be much more valuable and much more diversified customer base than just doing an accelerator. And the chances of success we saw was much higher in those class of devices versus trying to do one more accelerator. So today where we are is that we provide connectivity products that are developed ground up for AI infrastructure, meaning for AI data flows. We solve bottlenecks that are related to data, networking, and memory. As you probably know, most of the time, about 50% of the time, the GPUs or accelerators are actually sitting idle waiting for data or memory. So our products enable those bottlenecks to be reduced so that the GPU could be utilized at the maximum level, right? So that's one. The second thing that we do is we provide a software framework that we call Cosmos that provides an unprecedented ability to monitor how the interconnects are working, be able to predict a failure that might happen before it happens, and provide the eyes and ears for the connectivity infrastructure or the nervous system of a server to be able to provide the highest degree of visibility and observability that's needed for this complex data center systems that are being deployed for AI. The third is we are focused on a market that requires increasingly unique implementation for the infrastructure. And if you think about the infrastructure that Meta requires versus AWS, they tend to be different just because the workloads are different. So our products are developed in a way that they allow our customers to customize and optimize the connectivity infrastructure to suit their unique requirement through a innovative software-defined architecture that we have with our products. So net, we are solving the data, memory, and networking bottlenecks so that these complex servers could be utilized at the highest level and keep running at that level for a long time.
Well, you've done a lot of telling. Do you mind showing us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, publicly we have 4 product lines that we have announced to the market. The first product that we did was a PCIe retimer product that we call Aries. So what this product does, along with other retimers we have, is to enable our customers to double or triple the amount of data that they can transport between, let's say, a processor to a networking chip, and do so using existing board materials, existing interconnects. So it allows them to double the reach of the signal while achieving higher bandwidth through the interconnect. So this is the workhorse of the industry. Pretty much every major hyperscaler, this is the chip that's doing all of the interconnect when it comes to PCIe-based IOs, whether it's customers like NVIDIA or AMD or many of the hyperscalers that are deploying at scale. So this was the first product that is essentially allowed us to take off, if you will. And then the next product that we did is for active electrical cable for the scale-out topology when you're connecting AI servers with networking. These actually go in cable assemblies like you see here, but the product that we offer is this module level products that go inside the cable assembly, enabling our customers to use the same copper cable that they've been using, but double or quadruple the amount of bandwidth that they can drive through the cables. And these are essentially going into Ethernet applications, PCIe applications, and essentially enabling the infrastructure to be able to support the bandwidth that's required for AI. The other products that we publicly announced is for memory expansion. Like you noted, memory is a big bottleneck today when it comes to AI training and inference applications. So here we have developed products either in modules like this, PCIe add-in cards or chips that go inside that enable our customers to add more memory capability in a modular on-demand format to be able to support the large language models that are being run or large databases that needs to be run within the system. But clearly our latest product, which we call Scorpio, so these are our fabric products, switching products that could be used to either interconnect the GPUs, so we call it the Scorpio X series, and then Scorpio P series is for interconnecting the GPUs with CPUs, networking, storage, and so on. So this is our flagship product, and we are quickly expanding the portfolio of fabric devices as well as developing many more product lines in order to service the connectivity bottlenecks that we see in the AI use cases.
Well, pretty incredible technology. You and I both know you can have the greatest technology and still not have a successful company.
Yes.
And from the litany of stories that I've heard from the engineers, the leaders, and HR and talent, from top to bottom, the way that you and Casey and Jitendra started building the company and the culture that you're building is second to none. So it has to have a lot to do with the success of the company. And you guys are in a unique category of one. Since the pandemic, you're the only semiconductor hardware company to go public. What do you attribute that to?
First of all, I would say there's one thing we have done right is to make sure we surround ourselves with the right people. Okay, and people is not just the team members within Astera, but whether it's the investors, whether it's the partners for various different IP and other stuff that we need. So that emphasis on making sure we surround ourselves with the right people and not reducing the bar probably is the single most important reason for our success so far. Even now our acceptance rate is about 2% company-wide, meaning for every 100 people that we interview, I'm not talking about screen, interview, we select 2 of them. And that's important because it sets the bar high. We are still in our mind, we're still in a very early stage of a company building process. There's a lot of things that we want to accomplish, but that can happen as long as we're bringing the people with the right skill set and the right mindset. So that's something that's really helped us achieve a significant portion of our success. The other thing I would say is that, the way we go about doing stuff, I think we clearly believe that if there is one differentiation that matters today, it's one of execution. Everyone has money, everyone has ideas. What is truly a differentiator today, and if you look at the success of some of the companies, for example, NVIDIA, comes down to execution. And we're a big believer that that is the only differentiation that matters, along with making sure that you're hiring the right people and then making sure that you're listening to the customers. You're not worried about the competition, trying to do something incremental to them, but you're honestly listening to the customers, innovating and executing. And as long as we can do those 3 things, we believe we'll continue to be successful like the way we've been.
Awesome. Can you expand a little bit? You said skill set and mindset. I love that. Skill set, frankly, is a dime a dozen and it can be taught.
Yes.
What do you guys look for in mindset?
Mindset is a simple thing, right? Let me try to give you an analogy. Like noted, we're still in the early stage of a company. And the way I look at it is we're still building the foundation of the company. If you think about it, you go to a construction site that's just got the foundation. What do you see? Right? You see a bunch of mess. Concrete. You see a bunch of stuff that's still being built on. Right now, at that stage, which is the stage that we are, clearly you can't go there and say, oh my God, there's so much of trash here. I'm not going to get involved till I'm asked to because I'm really an interior decorator guy that hasn't got the chance yet to start doing what I'm good at, right? So the mindset that I'm referring to is one in which you embrace the fact that we are still a company in its early stages. We're still in the foundation stage. You come in expecting that things will be broken with the mindset that you will roll up your sleeve and do whatever is needed, right? And be able to be part of that process, not just to do that one function that you're hired for, which could be in sales or engineering, but you are joining the company with the mindset that you are here to essentially build a company versus do your sales job. If that mindset is there, then I believe that we will go a long way in terms of creating the team of people that are able to keep addressing the challenges as they come in, working as a team, and realizing that we have a foundation that someday will be a big tower with multiple floors that hopefully will translate into being an iconic company in the valley and in the world.
What does that mean to you? If you're an iconic company, what do you hope that legacy looks like for you?
Yeah, so There are many ways to define that, right? One, you can define that from a business success standpoint, right? There's various ways of slicing that. The other one is just sort of the place in the industry. And if you think about it, Broadcom became what it became during the internet era, right? Then you have companies like Meta. It became what it became during the social media era. There's many companies that were there, but they stood out and said, this is the company that emerged, and even today it's going strong. So for us, when I talk about iconic company, what I mean is that when the AI era of computing, continues and goes forward, let's say 10 years from now, you want to be able to look back and say which are the companies that were born in that era, but grew to have the business success and everything that comes with it, and they continue to thrive and grow. And that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is really from an employee standpoint. I'm some ways I'm simple in how I think, and for me, the employee satisfaction, the way I like to measure it, going back to the iconic question, is that I want people to come here and really have a good time in terms of achieving whatever they're trying to achieve from a function standpoint. And the way I like to define that when I talk to new employees as they come and join the company is that, imagine we all at some point will become old, and I have this visual where you're like sitting out on the porch on a rocking chair, and you're too old to do a lot of things, but when you stare up at the sky and you think about Astera, it brings a smile on your face. And it does so because you had a lot of success from whatever product you did. You made a lot of friends. You truly impacted the industry. And not just you, but the family had a good time. They felt that they were part of the company's success. The kids did their internship here or came and worked here. But in general, it should be a high point in everyone's career as if they think about their time within Astera. So those are things that come to mind when I think about what I mean by an iconic company. It has to be an aspirational company that people really feel good about, whether it's the investors, whether it's the employees, or other stakeholders.
No, that's awesome, and that really coincides with what I've heard from others as well. And if from a business success side, if we're to attack that without releasing anything proprietary,
sure.
What are some meta trends that you see within the AI space that maybe other executives aren't paying attention to, that you're kind of licking your chops that Astera can solve, problems that Astera can solve?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in many ways, I think it's fair to say that AI is still in its early innings. I mean, you're seeing all kinds of innovation. We saw the recent one that we all went through as well. But in general, what we're seeing is you'll continue to have companies like DeepSeek that is looking at optimization of the various different AI models. AI is going to touch every aspect of our life, and it's going to happen in my mind in three different stages. The first stage that we are in right now is all the foundational technology, whether it's the models that have to be created, the infrastructure that has to be laid out, and so on. The next phase that will be significant would be the agents that are created, whether it's for productivity application or some medical research application or anything else that you can think of. That's the next stage. The third stage that I look at when it comes to AI is having not just individual agents, but personas, meaning if I am a business executive, then there are certain things that I need to do on a daily basis, whether it's managing my calendar, looking at key new stuff, looking at various different execution metrics within the company. I would like to have a coworker that essentially represents the persona that I need to do for my own job. So the third stage that I see is the agents being combined in unique ways, like, for example, Microsoft Office comes with a variety of different tools for the working professional and so on, right? So what I see is that the industry evolving through those phases. It's not going to be a straight line. There will be, a bunch of activity, then something else will happen. Things might stabilize in a certain way. things might become efficient. But in general, just like what happened with the internet, this phase is going to be here for a long time. And it's going to approach things in a systematic way, with infrastructure being laid out first, followed by software agents, followed by more sophisticated software suites that combine the agents to essentially represent a co-worker that I would rely on, you would rely on for getting your job done.
Awesome. Well, you you talked about some of the forward-looking things you're excited about. Technical executives are oftentimes tasked with wearing many different hats. What right now is keeping you up at night?
I want to say, thankfully, I sleep well, okay, for the most part. But having said that, I think if there's one way to answer your question, or the point that you're making of what's the toughest problem that we need to focus on, it's one of scaling. I mean, clearly there is a lot more opportunities than we have time or resources for, right? So for me, the main thing is, how do we make sure that we continue to scale the company, whether it's people, resource, infrastructure, and not lose the basic culture of innovation, teamwork, and caring about the customer type of basic aspects of the culture remains intact. So you can imagine, as you grow, I mean, we are adding multiple sites now. We just announced opening of our site in Bangalore in India. We have multiple R&D centers at the moment. So when you start growing and having remote sites, the hardest thing for any company or organization is to make sure that you continue to focus on things that have gotten success for us so far, which is whether it's customer related or execution related or just basic teamwork related. So those are things I believe are challenges that we need to continue to take it head on and address them in a way that we can create that iconic company that I mentioned early on.
So I think one thing from a company culture standpoint that I have been blown away and impressed with is the level of interaction you have with your community. A lot of companies do business in the community,
Sure.
but you're a part of the community. And the employees have told me how important volunteering is to them, and I think that starts at the top. Can you talk to us a little bit about the criticality of being a part of the community and giving back to the community that you're in?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, there are people do different things or work in setups like this for multiple reasons. For some it's about money, some it's about having a certain position or impact. For us, it's really about making sure that the success is shared with the stakeholders, with the employees, as well as with the community that we are part of. And we say that with all sincerity. It's not a lip service for us, because you got to visualize how we all grew up. For me, growing up in India, it was not easy, right? Opportunities were far and few in between, and many people helped me get to the point that I am today. Same thing happened after we came to the US. There were many things as immigrants that you go through, which needs a supporting hand from someone saying, this is how you do it. I mean, you could be hardworking, passionate, intelligent, and all that stuff, but end of the day, you also need that mentoring and that opportunity. So what we're trying to do, whether it's the high school internship program that we have, whether the community activities that we do, right, or supporting employees and their kids that are, need some help somewhere, right? So those are things that we do it not because it's a corporate policy. We do it because it's important for us as individuals and leaders within the company. So that's where it comes from. Who knows what will happen in the future, right, in terms of the success of the company. But what we try to do is that every day we are here, we try to make an impact in whatever little way we can, because that is what gives us the true sort of satisfaction in some ways to our soul, and that's something we'll continue to do.
So a little bit of a follow-on to that. I truly can say that I have not interacted with one person at this company that doesn't possess one trait, and that's humility. And there's no way that you can attract that many people without humility at the very top. About 10% of the time I'm comfortable asking this question, so hopefully it doesn't catch you too off guard. A lot of times we will talk about the home runs, the successes. Is there a personal or a business failure that you've encountered that you believe, looking back, has helped shape the success of Astera?
I mean, we fail all the time, by the way, just to be very clear, and we do mistakes all the time. So we have done many, to answer your question. There are, things that you can look at that as failure, or you can look at that as an opportunity to learn. I think it's a perception thing. I mean, I always tell my kids, I have two boys, either you win or you learn. There is no, I mean, reality is, if you start trying to define success or success and failure as two distinct buckets, you really don't, I mean, you can't live your life, because you are faced all the time with things that don't work and setbacks that you have to deal with. But as long as you have the perspective of staying grounded and saying, let me look at what went wrong, what can I do better, and use it as a learning opportunity, I think we'll be fine. So it's a little bit philosophical answer to your question, but simplistically put, we have made mistakes in hiring, we have made mistakes in customer strategies, or making sure that we are doing the right things in a given situation. It happens all the time. But as long as you are willing to accept your failure, doesn't matter what level you are, and have the guts to raise your hand and said, I goofed up, I will try to do better, and in an honest way do and take the corrective action, I think people notice that and they feel comfortable admitting their failure or their mistakes. Because end of the day, we are pushing the envelope in a big way. AI infrastructure is not a simple problem to solve. We will have to take risks and chances. We will make mistakes. We will have to blow through that occasional red light. But as long as you're able to accept that in a way that that is not negative in any way, you are creating a healthy energy in the company. You are encouraging people to run hard. And if they do a mistake, that's fine. We'll learn from it and make sure it doesn't happen next time. I think those kind of simple way of thinking is how we approach here in Astera.
Okay. Final question for you. You know that 2% that does make it through the interview cycle, to have that high of a bar, those individuals are rarely, if ever, looking for a job, because they're going to be well taken care of where they are. So if one of those 2%, if you had a chance to say something to one of those 2% that weren't actively looking, but you wanted them to be Astera curious, to at least explore, what would you say?
I would say, a couple of things. One, I would say, success is about the impact that you live, once you're done with your career. For me, that's a very important thing, the aspect of living a legacy, right? You could be good in one thing and you're making tons of money, but if you're not able to take that and essentially help others get to that same level, whether it is from a technical knowledge standpoint or something else, it is something that probably is not that impactful, right? So what I would tell people that are listening to this thing is that if you want to make an impact in a true way, if you want to work in a setup that's positive with for the most part, I want to believe there's no politics or posturing and so on. Come join us, right? So we are trying to do something unique in the industry to create a company that, for once can resist some of the normal things that you would see when you have success and so on, right? We could have gotten acquired many times. We chose not to, because we wanted to build a company that is iconic in some ways and maximizes the opportunity that is out there in a truly collaboratively positive way. So if you enjoy that, then come join us. If you believe, if you are one of those persons that cannot back yourself, or need to project yourself in a way that might not be representative of you in an authentic way, then Astera is not the right place for you. Doesn't matter how skilled you are, we appreciate your success and wish you the best. But if you're not able to bring the mindset that's needed to create a company and execute on a vision that ensures business success while ensuring a positive impact to yourself and the people you work with and to the community at large, then maybe Astera is not the right place. But other than that, if you believe you want to make an impact and be part of a company building mission and not just building a product or selling a product, come work for us. We'd love to have you join us.
Well, I love it. And the bit of wisdom that you shared right there, I think if more founders understood that it's as important to keep the people that aren't right out as it is to bring the right people in. So this has been illuminating, really appreciate it. And I think I speak in large part as industry, for the industry as a whole, and saying keep building, keep building. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and appreciate again all the kind words and the opportunity to speak to you. It's an honor, and we'll continue to do that. Keep building a great company, and I'm sure we'll talk more in other forums.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.